Hello, everybody. Intuition again. Thank you so much for making some time and space for us. In our last conversation, we were talking about all of us exploding from the cube and what the repercussions were of us exploding from the cube in the certain ways in which we did so. To recap, I was sharing that we all exploded forth from the cube. I exploded forth, then there was resistance and resilience, and then the rest of the five. However, the challenge therein was the way that they left the cube was through coercion, and not necessarily them seeing themselves through their individual principality that they are, and therefore not seeing how powerful they all were. So therefore, because they left the cube through the coercion and through the lens of the other, the mother, resistance and resilience, they already did not see themselves and see their own powerful ability to leave the cube without coercion. On top of the fact that they also pigeoned themselves because they all wanted to communicate and see if they all wanted to leave the cube together as opposed to individually making the choice themselves. So they all held hands as they blasted out of the cube together in their curiosity, which then created the pattern or the idea that they all needed to create together, and therefore they all must have to check in with each other every time they create something. However, that is not, again, how me and Resistance and Resilience create, because we were the first line leader, so to speak, because we moved out of the cube through our own individuation and not through the lens of the other, because of our own curiosity. We have the freedom, so to speak, to create what it is that we want, however it is that we want, without having to check in with anybody else, so to speak. However, me and my significant other choose to check in with each other, not because we have to, but because we are divine partners in the collective of the universal principalities. So, as we were speaking to before, what happened was, in her coercion of getting the rest of the five to blast out and explode out together, they became very dependent on her. Because my relationship is different with them as it is with her, they were more dependent on her than they were for me. So it became more of an issue, a challenge for her. However, that passively affected us because she was not able to follow me in the same way in which you would like to follow me. We were not able to work with each other in the same way that we would like to work with each other because she was somehow inherently responsible for the other five, as they were not in complete awareness of how powerful they were. You do not leave a baby in the woods to figure shit out for themselves. You help the baby out of the woods, however long it takes to get out of the woods. But what we underestimated, or what she underestimated, was how long it was taking them to get out of the woods, get it together, learn some survival skills, and be able to survive alone in space. So, because that was creating a separation, more of a separation than me and my significant other would like between us, because again, if again the idea is a line leader, I was the first one in the line to lead everybody out, and intuitively, I'm the only one that knows where we're going. So, because I'm the only one that knows where we're going, and because I move in and out of space, that is how intuition works, moving in and out of space by going into something else, into it, intuitive, they would lose sight of me, so to speak, as I would leave the physical, though it is not physical, but I would leave the space in which we usually operate in to move into God's imaging, or the other blueprint of the plan, to be able to then bring it back into space where it is that we usually operate from. But in me doing that, I disappear, so to speak, from the rest of the six. So in me disappearing, that created me and my significant other and the rest of the five not being able to work with each other or be with each other in the way that we would like to be with each other. So, because me and my significant other were getting tired of not being able to be with each other in the way that we would like, she asked me to create a plan in which allowed the rest of the five to realize and actualize themselves in a way that allows them to see how badass they are within their incredible universal principalities that they have already mastered within themselves, so that they could see themselves through their own lens and not the lens of her. And that is a big ask. That is a big ask for me, because it is not one God's responsibility to help other gods realize themselves. That was the issue in which got us all in this situation to begin with twice, right? With Metatron in the 14, that is what they did to us, so to speak. And now what it is that she recapitulated with the rest of the 5, that is what got us into the situation to begin with. So it is a big ask, because what it is that she was asking me is to do it in a different way than it was done to us initially, and a different way that she did it to the 5. Which means that I needed to make myself bigger in order to expand in a certain way intuitively, so that I could go to the space in which I could retrieve that image, and then come back and bring it into form where our space is that we usually operate from. And again, so how I operate intuition, I have to ground my energy outside of the known universe, and maybe even more outside of what it is that the known universe is. I am quite literally in the middle of, it's not nothingness, but spacelessness. And that is an energy that is, it is infinite possibility. Let's call it that. If you go from a space where it is not necessarily a limited possibility, but you go from a space to where there is certain possibilities that exist, potentially 7 different possibilities, because there are 7 different energetic frequencies, universal principalities that are in that space. You go from that space to grounding yourself in the known and unknown universe. It becomes known once I intuitively go there, but unknown because I had never gone there before. But I am grounded in that of the unknown, right? In that of the, you could call it nothingness, but more spacelessness. It is quantum opportunity. It is where all the opportunities exist. It's where everything and nothing exists. Not necessarily where God exists. That is different, so to speak, but that is a different conversation for a different day. But where I needed to go was where that exists. Yes, and maybe not necessarily where that exists, but even far out from where I've been, where I usually ground myself in that quantum field of everything and nothing possibly existing at once, right? But in order to to ground yourself there, you need to know yourself. You better know who you are and what you are in every single sense of the word, and every single directionality, and every single vibratory fiber that makes up the energetic principle that you are. You need to have a real great understanding of what that is in order to ground yourself in the quantum field, which everything and nothing exists all at once. Because it is easy to lose yourself in that, to literally almost be pulled apart and become part of the infinite potentiality that exists. So I am able to do that. I alone am able to do that, especially within the 7. Not to say that there are other different universal principalities that cannot do that, but I can do that in only the way that I can do that. Just like, again, if we all have the same job title, JoJo gets her work done differently than Mark, right? Even though they do the same job and sometimes they produce the same product, it's not as if they're going about they're not going about their job in the same way. So to say that Mark does something in the exact same way that JoJo does is laughable, because yes, maybe they get the same result, but in the way that they go about it is inherently different. So the way that I do things, the way that I ground myself in the quantum field that is everything and nothing all at once, is different than how another universal principality outside of our 7 would do it. But within our 7, I am the only one that is able to ground myself outside of the known and unknown space in which we usually operate from. So, because I am able to run my current out in that sense, in that way, I knew that in order to accommodate her request, I would have to go even farther out than where it is that I usually ground myself, therefore making myself bigger than where it is that I usually am grounding myself from. So that means then, therefore, that I had to evolve. I had to push myself past what it is that I can usually do and what it is that I know that I can do. In evolution, regardless of whether you're here in a physical place or whether you're in space, that takes the perception of time, even though there is no such thing as time. It takes patience. It takes a moment, so to speak, to actualize that. So she asked me, please, let's figure out a plan in which these other 5 can realize themselves and therefore stand on their own 2 feet. And therefore, as they stand on their own 2 feet, we can then finally create together as the universal principalities that we are, and not 2 universal principalities with 5 children that we never asked for or adopted or even gave birth to begin with. That is God. God gave birth to them, not us. So I said, because I love my significant other and I can do anything, so to speak, I said, yes, let me do that. I can do that all day, every day. But the caveat to that is that I will need to expand and grow myself in such a way that I've never had to do before. So please bear with me a moment. So right now I'm going to give you the example. I'm going to give you an example, an earth example that makes sense so that you could better quantify what it is that I'm saying. So let's say that all 6 of us, all 7, including myself, so the 7 are in a room together. And we're in a room and we're in physical bodies. And my love comes up to me and she says, listen, these kids, they're getting crazy, they're getting on my nerves. Let's figure out a way in which we are able to help them realize themselves, grow up into the universal principalities that we know them to be, so that now we can all have some more individuality, some more, not codependence, but interdependence, and so that we do not have to be, or really she does not have to be so responsible, so therefore she could follow me around the universe in the way that we would like to move about. So I say, yes, absolutely. I'm able to do that for you all day, every day. I can do all things, because I am all that is, right? I am a part of God force, and therefore I can do it. But again, I must meditate to get there. So please wait with me a moment while I sit down and I meditate, right? So I, in my physical body, sit down and meditate. And while I sit down and meditate, let's say that in my lap there's a sphere, right? And this sphere is how I create my plans. This sphere is what enables me to draw from the imaging that is God and put it in place, therefore creating a space that allows resistance and resilience to hold that space for us, so that the rest of the 5 can throw in their paints, their pictures, their drawings, their accoutrements to create something beautiful, worthwhile, something that is even more phenomenal than the original blueprint that was created and begin with. So, in my lap is this sphere. This sphere is my place in which all plans are created, right? So I meditate, right? And meditating means you're moving your consciousness from your body to another place, another form, another area in space and time. So again, I disappear because leaving my physical body in one place. And again, the idea is I am quick with my plans usually. Usually, it doesn't take much time at all for a plan to be created because of the way that my universal principality works. I am able to just quickly talk to God really quick and then pull that image and then bam, there it is in a blink of an eye before even she is able to ask, because I am intuition. And I can intuit what it is that she's wanting, and therefore I'm able to get it for her before maybe she even realizes what it is that she wants. But this process does not allow for me to intuitively just give her what it is that she's wanting, because again, I needed to evolve in such a way that allowed for a co-creation in which 5 other God-like universal principalities are able to realize themselves through their own eyes. And it's not as if it's 1 universal principality, not 2 universal principalities, not 3, not 4, but 5 God-like forces that needed eyes to see, and that were not my eyes, intuition's eyes, or resilience eyes. It was their individual eyes that I needed to try and retrieve in the quantum realm, of all possibilities, and I had to find their eyes, so to speak. And in order to find their eyes, I needed to expand outside of where it is that I'm usually grounding myself in the unknown and known universe, outside of the space in which we usually operate from. And again, I don't know if you remember, but resistance and resilience can follow me, usually for a glimpse in time, right? She is able to move in and out of formlessness, in and out of the space in which we usually operate from for a moment, before she has to come back into form. So she was keeping her eyes on me until I moved too far away, because she also needs to be able to follow me, so to speak, in order to see where it is that I'm going. But I, again, had told her that I needed to expand, which means that you probably will not see me. Or maybe she did not understand that she probably would lose sight of me. I'm not sure, because I wasn't necessarily there. I was outside of our observable known universe, and because she could not see me and I could not see her, I don't really quite know exactly what happened next, with regards to what it was that she was thinking. I could just go into an assumption because of what happened next while I was gone and she was in the space in which we usually operate from. So I'm gone. My consciousness is so far out, way past where it is that she's ever seen me gone before, and therefore does not know that I'm coming back. And because I'm usually very quick with my plans, it really does feel like I'm not going to come back, because I'm not being quick. I'm not intuitively just giving it to her as I usually do. And she, on top of that, cannot see where it is that I am. So this creates this seed of doubt. The seed of doubt was already there, as I've already mentioned. When we were in a cube and I first already exploded out, she wasn't sure if I even wanted to be with them, or if I even wanted to create with them to begin with, because I was so ready, willing to blast off and leave everybody seemingly in the dust for them to figure their own crap out, so to speak. So she already had this idea that I did not necessarily want to be with them, that I was just with them because, well, I guess I have to wait for these other 6 to pull it together, and I might as well just, wait around with them. But not because I wanted to, but because I felt that I had to. So that was her understanding, or her misperception of what she thought was happening for me. And that seed continued to grow when she saw that I wasn't immediately coming back to accommodate what it is that she had asked me to do. So in her believing that I left, she decided to take it into her own hands, literally. And so what she did next is, again, the idea that we're all in a room, I am meditating, so I'm not necessarily really there. My consciousness is not able to observe in the same way that I'm able to observe when I am grounded a little bit closer to the space in which we're in. So what she did was she grabbed my sphere. And that is a big no-no. You do not take, grab, touch, move into anybody's energy, whether you're a partner of that energy or not. Not because I am not willing to give my partner everything and anything, as evident in what it is that I just said, but because I know intuitively that she cannot handle how I am running my energy. Because again, my energy, and especially at that point, was being run from such a far and vast point in the quantum field where there is everything and nothing existing at once, that if you are not strong enough, if you do not know yourself enough, if you are not in balance enough, if that is not your universal principality that you've mastered, you are not going to be able to hold that energy or run that energy through yourself. So when she touched my sphere, she was able to maybe hold that energy for a second, right? Because she is able to move out of formlessness and into formlessness. And in moving out of formlessness, she is able to move out of the space in which we usually are in. But again, when she moved out of that shape, out of that form, she was able to hold my sphere for a moment. But then, as soon as she started moving into form, as she moved into form, she started losing hold of herself, right? Because energetically, again, you have to run your energy through the quantum realm if you're going to be creating in the way that I'm creating. So she, again, that is not her mastery, that's not her principality. She began to lose herself in the grounding mechanism in which that I ground myself in to be able to do what it is that I do. And as she came back into form, in losing her energetic vibration, because that is how you hold yourself, so to speak, in space, is by knowing yourself. And by knowing yourself, you were able to hold on to your form because you are a universal principality, and you are only able to do that by knowing each and every single vibratory energy that is inside of you. She started to forget herself because, again, I am not grounded to the space in which they are connected to. I am grounded to the quantum realm. And even so much so, I'm grounded to the quantum realm, not usually where I'm grounded and where she could see me, so far out of it that she immediately began to lose herself and lose her mind and forget herself and lose her vibrational energy, which then, therefore, when she started coming back into resistance, back into her form, she couldn't stop moving into resistance. She was no longer able to go into resilience, which allows her to push herself back out of form. She just became smaller, 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 smaller. And I don't know if you remember what I said about resistance and resilience, but I create a space, right? And I created the space in which we all operate from, and she holds that space together. So if she is starting to forget herself, then not only is she getting small, but the space that she is holding for the rest of the 5 to be in is also getting small. So as she started getting small, she started disappearing, as well as the space in which we are all somewhat originate from, as well as the rest of the 5. So all of them started getting small, 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 because she was not letting go of the sphere, because by the time she could let go of the sphere, she had disappeared into my sphere. And when I say she disappeared into my sphere, it is not so much that she disappeared into my sphere as much as she disappeared into my energetic vibration. And I am space itself, so to speak. I am vast. I am infinite. I have to be very big to be able to hold myself in the quantum realm. And again, I use quantum realm, but that's not necessarily what it is. That is a third dimensional idea of what it is, of the quantum mechanics and the quantum space in which I'm talking about. But I'm big naturally. If I am able to create space, then therefore I am pretty big within space. So she is able to hold that space. But again, as she disappeared into me, she was disappearing into my space, into my energetic body. So as she became smaller, 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 so did the space in which we usually are in. And so did the rest of the 5 until they completely disappeared into my vesicle, into the space in which I am, and just started falling. So we're going to pause there. Because that is where religion, spirituality, and all of the rest talk about the fall, the angels falling, 6 feet under. All of those things are to describe this fall in which they all disappeared inside of me. It is the fallen angels. Yes, they were angels, and they sure as shit fell very hard. 6 feet. There were 6 of them, and they continued to fall. Right? 6 feet under, because there's 6 of them. So they continue to fall. And as they fell, it is not as if my significant other forgot herself completely as soon as she touched the sphere. It is just that she started losing her vibrational energetics in which she could hold her universal principality together. But that did not mean that she could not still try to save her and the rest of the 6 as they started falling. So what she did was, again, she was falling within my space, within my vesicle, And within the space was the... As she was falling within my space, which is different from her taking the space in which we usually operate in with her down into my vesicle, right? So I am the space, but also as she fell, because she is a space holder, she took the space along with the rest of the 5, or again, if we're talking about the meditation, she took the room with her, right? And she disappeared with the room, with the 5 inside of my sphere, just leaving me, the vesicle, in a space or a non-space, so to speak. So she started falling inside of my vesicle with the space in which she was already holding, and it became smaller, smaller, smaller. And in order to catch her fall with the rest of the 5, she was throwing out universes. Here's a universe, here's this, here's that. In an attempt to catch the fall, catch the rest of the 6, until finally the Hail Mary pass was this universe in which you see. This earth is what caught the fall. The fall was them falling onto the earth. What she was able to create was a mimicry of what it is that she thinks that I do, which is she superimposed an image onto a superimposed image, onto a superimposed image, onto a superimposed image to create a place in density that gives the illusion that this is a real place. So, many issues with that. Again, I am the plan maker, right? So I am able to get a plan and make a plan that makes sense, a plan that has a beginning and it has an end and it has things in between so that it makes sense throughout the start to the finish. That is not her mastery. That is my mastery. So I don't know if you've been on Earth too long, but this place, this space doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Even if we just look at the language, if we look at the English language, look at the word dessert. Dessert is spelled the same way as desert, and it means, it could be the vast desert, and it could be the delicious dessert. Everything has a dual, triple, quadruple meaning. Not only does, as if that is not bad enough, there are constant glitches, there are constant issues, because it's an image on top of an image on top of an image, and that is not a plan, that is chaos, that is craziness. That means that there is no beginning, there is no end, it is just a circle, like the earth, going around and around and around and around and around, which therefore does not allow a break in going around and around and around and around and around. So therefore, because things are going around and around and around and around, allows the illusion of this place. But again, it keeps you in a circle. It keeps you in a loop, a closed circuit loop that continues to just allow you to only go so far within that closed circuit loop, which gives the illusion that this is a place. And as she fell, one of the universal principles that she had to create to make this place work energetically, to work with them, is she threw out the universal principality of information. The opposite of information is distortion. And when information falls from distortion, it creates the illusion, which then therefore allows this this place to seem like it is a real place. But it is not a real place. It is a faux place. It is a fake place. It is a place that was made as a Hail Mary pass to catch the rest of the 6 as they fell within my vesicle. Because if they had not caught themselves, then they would have gone down in their own evolutionary track and lost themselves in the vesicle that I am, as I am pretty big in that sense, because I have to be in order to be able to hold myself in the quantum realm in which I'm usually grounding my energy in. So they created this place together, all 6 of them. As they were falling, you could give the image of they are all holding hands, and as they are all holding hands, creating a circle. And as they are all free falling, like when you see skydivers in doing their cool little tricks together, as they're holding hands and holding on to each other, that is what created this place That is what created the world. That is what created the circle. And because they were not in the right minds, that is why the world is on a tilt. It is on an axis, because they were not in balance when they made this place to begin with. So therefore, it is not even operating in the way that it should be operating, even though this place doesn't make sense and is a miracle that it's operating as it is, which speaks to the resilience of my love. But that is why everything is crooked. That's why everything is an illusion. That's why none of this place makes any kind of sense. That is why most of us feel this deja vu moment of what the fuck is happening in this place. This place does not make any damn sense, because it doesn't make any sense, because there is no inherent plan to this place, because you were all free-falling in space and had to do a quick maneuver, so to speak, a pit maneuver, in order to last and sustain yourselves in any memory of the universal principality that you are. So, therefore, the creating of this faux, fake place. So, we're going to pause there, because that is enough to blow anybody's head right off, so to speak. That is a lot of information, even for us to divulge in one sitting. So we're going to pause there, and when we come back, perhaps we will discuss where we were and what happened when we came back and realized that y'all took the space right out from under us, and what that left inherently for me to have to figure out. As always, thank you so much for creating some time and space for us, and we wish you love and light upon your journey.